Welcome to 21st Century Dating Decoded. We're making modern love simple. Get ready to decode your love life. Brought to you by Speed Mingle.
Welcome back to 21st Century Dating Decoded. This is the deep dive where we basically dissect modern romance, so, you don't have to keep suffering through it.
Exactly. We do the heavy lifting for you.
Right. So I have a quick question to start us off. When was the last time your social life felt like, I don't know, a really bad Wi-Fi connection?
Oh, man. You mean like just buffering indefinitely while you sit there refreshing?
Try every single weekend. It is universally infuriating.
Yeah.
Like, usually when we talk about a bad connection, we're talking about technology, right? You're on the couch, long day, you want to stream a movie, and you get that spinning wheel of death.
Yeah, the buffering icon. It's the worst.
It's the absolute worst. You're just staring at a frozen screen waiting for data packets to catch up. But what happens when that buffering icon is your actual social life?
That is a very real thing right now.
It is. Think about what modern dating has turned into recently. It feels exactly like dating on a 1998 dial-up modem.
Oh, totally. High latency, zero bandwidth.
Yes. You match with someone, and then you spend, 3 weeks texting back and forth?
Yeah.
Drip-feeding these tiny bits of information about, like, your favorite brand of sparkling water.
Or your commute. Just thrilling stuff.
Right. And then you finally meet up in person, the dial-up tone finishes, the image loads, and you realize you have absolutely zero bandwidth. No chemistry, no spark.
Just two people staring at each other over lukewarm coffee.
Realizing they just wasted a month of their lives. It's so exhausting.
It really is. And, it's the defining romantic paradox of our era. We have the fastest telecommunications infrastructure in human history, right? But our interpersonal connection speeds have essentially flatlined.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Flatline.
Yeah. We can send a high-definition video across the globe in milliseconds, but figuring out if we actually enjoy the presence of the person sitting across from us, that has never been more inefficient.
And that inefficiency is driving people out of their minds. You can literally feel the collective exhaustion out there. And that's really the mission of our deep dive today. We're looking at a massive society-shifting migration.
Hitting the refresh button, basically.
Exactly. People are hitting the refresh button on how they meet. We're decoding this complete abandonment of screen-based app fatigue. People are trading it in for highly curated, intentional, in-person experiences.
Which is such a relief to see.
It is. And to really understand this, we are zeroing in on Nashville and Brentwood, Tennessee, a 615 area code. We're using it as our masterclass case study today.
It's the perfect microcosm for this.
It really is. We've got demographic data, lifestyle analyses, manifesto statements from local meetups, and even the internal mechanics from event organizers who are actively re-engineering human connection.
Stuff like the pop, fizz, and speed mingle at mere bowls, which we will definitely get into.
Oh, we absolutely will. It is flipping the script on everything. But before we get to how they're fixing it, we have to understand the breaking point. Because, it feels like something snapped recently.
Oh, it definitely snapped.
We've had dating apps for a decade, But the desperation to get off the phone feels entirely new right now.
Well, it has everything to do with the macro environment of the internet today. The digital dating ecosystem has always been fraught, sure, but we recently crossed this psychological Rubicon.
You mean with AI?
Exactly. The integration of generative AI into daily communication fundamentally broke the social contract of online dating. Authenticity online is, for all practical purposes, dead.
It's totally dead. It's like the in-person spam folder, but on your phone.
Right. When you match with someone today, they're routinely outsourcing their profile curation, their opening lines, even their ongoing banter to language models.
Which is wild.
It is. You literally do not know if you are texting a human being attempting to be charming or an algorithm optimizing for flirtation based on billions of data points.
Yeah. That reframes the entire interaction. It's no longer a digital introduction. It's an adversarial Turing test.
An adversarial Turing test. I love that.
It's true, though. You aren't getting to know someone. You are auditing their text to see if they sound too perfectly witty. It turns your inbox into romantic spam.
Which nobody wants.
No.
Yeah.
If I suspect that I am building rapport with a predictive text engine instead of like a 34-year-old architect from East Nashville, my willingness to invest any emotional energy just drops to zero.
And the behavioral data entirely backs up your reaction there. Just between 2023 and 2024 alone, Organizers reported a staggering 60% surge in attendance for speed dating and in-person connection events.
60%, that is massive.
Massive. People are actively fleeing the digital marketplace. Like if you look at the Nashville metropolitan area, you have an ecosystem of roughly 380,000 single people.
Wow.
And the median age of that demographic is 34. So this isn't a college town trying to find a weekend hookup.
Right, these are adults.
Exactly. A massive population of adults who are established in their careers, they know who they are, and they are looking around realizing that swiping into an algorithmic void is just a mathematically and emotionally bankrupt strategy.
A bankrupt strategy. Man, that is bleak but accurate.
Yeah.
So if you have 380,000 people who are thoroughly burned out on this digital dial-up, where does all that energy go?
It has to go somewhere.
Right. Water takes the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And in this case, the demographic data shows it flowing into very specific physical locations. If you're ditching the app, you no longer have that digital filter where you can toggle age ranges or political affiliations or, whether they want kids.
You lose all those check boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the physical neighborhood you choose to occupy becomes your new dating app filter. Geography is doing the heavy lifting that the algorithm used to do.
And the spatial sorting here is fascinating. Physical geography replaces algorithmic sorting because where we choose to spend our discretionary time is a really accurate proxy for our values.
Our income, our phase of life.
Exactly.
Let's map this out using the 615 as our blueprint. If neighborhoods were dating apps, downtown Nashville is undeniably the Tinder of the area.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's the heart of Music City, right?
Yeah.
Lower Broadway, the Hockey Tonk Highway, the Ryman. And the defining characteristics of downtown are volume, noise, and visual chaos.
Total chaos.
It is this highly transient, tourist-heavy, alcohol-centric scene flooded with bachelorette parties. It's an environment built for high energy consumption, not sustained conversation.
Yeah, and to understand why that environment fails the 34-year-old single demographic, you really have to look at sensory processing.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, when you walk into a bar on Lower Broadway, the ambient noise level routinely exceeds 90 decibels.
90 decibels. That's like standing next to a lawnmower.
Basically, yeah. You've got a live country band playing, people are shouting to be heard, and the visual field is cluttered with neon lights and movement. In that environment, your brain's cognitive load is entirely consumed by sensory filtering just to navigate the room. You literally do not have the cognitive bandwidth left over to engage in, the nuanced, vulnerable exchange of information required to figure out long-term compatibility.
It's like trying to thread a needle while riding a roller coaster.
That is exactly what it is.
Which naturally repels anyone looking for an intentional connection. I mean, you aren't going to have a deep conversation about your future goals while someone is spilling a brightly colored slushie on your shoes.
No, you are not.
So that energy has to migrate. And where we see it migrating in the data is straight south down into Brentwood. If downtown is Tinder, Brentwood operates as the eHarmony of the area.
The eHarmony of the 615, I like that.
It fits. It is settled, it is intentional, and it is affluent. The demographics are a stark contrast to downtown. The median household income sits at $181,576 tetros.
Wow.
Yeah. The median age jumps to 43.6 years old. You have 75% of the adult population holding a bachelor's degree and a massive 92% home ownership rate.
This is a textbook push-pull migration pattern. The superficiality and the sensory overload of downtown pushes mature singles away, and the established, quieter nature of Brentwood pulls them in.
But wait, I do have to push back on this framing just a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
If people are just fleeing to Brentwood because it's affluent, highly educated, and mostly homeowners, aren't they just retreating into these massive socioeconomic echo chambers?
I see where you're going.
It sounds a bit like, I only want to interact with people who make 180 grand a year and have the same stock portfolio as me. If you never leave Brentwood, you never meet anyone outside your specific tax bracket. Aren't people just avoiding diversity and replacing the app filter with an exclusionary financial barrier?
It is a vital critique, and honestly, on the surface, it absolutely looks like socioeconomic self-segregation.
Right.
But if we dig into the behavioral psychology driving this migration, it is less about conscious demographic isolation and much more about seeking what we'd call a shared lifestyle matrix.
Okay, I need you to translate that for me. What does a shared lifestyle matrix actually mean in practice, outside of just wanting to date rich people?
Fair question. Think about what a functional day-to-day relationship actually requires to survive past that initial honeymoon phase.
Okay.
It requires a fundamental alignment in how two people spend their time, their energy, and their resources. When a 36-year-old single person chooses to socialize in Brentwood rather than downtown, they aren't necessarily running from diversity.
They're running toward an environment that reflects their current life stage.
Exactly. They're running toward an environment that reflects their energy levels. They're seeking quieter venues that allow for actual conversation, a pace of life that respects early mornings and career demands, and a community that values long-term settlement over transient entertainment.
So the income and education metrics are just their byproduct.
They are often just statistical byproducts of seeking that specific cadence of life.
Okay, that makes sense. You are filtering for people whose Tuesday night looks similar to your Tuesday night.
Precisely.
And you see this exact same geographic sorting mechanism playing out in the other microcultures across Nashville, too. The city is really a mosaic of these highly specific social ecosystems.
Like where else?
Well, if you don't want the suburban settled vibe of Brentwood, you have Germantown. It has this very walkable, brick street European sensibility.
Oh, nice.
You have the farmer's market, spots like Rolf and Daughters, a very culinary-focused, relaxed energy. Or you look at the Gulch, which is much more of an artsy, urban, high-rise environment, anchored by the first art museum and the Station Inn.
Right, totally different vibe.
Completely. Then you have Midtown, heavily populated by the Vanderbilt crowd and medical professionals from the local hospital, so it's a vibrant but slightly more localized nightlife. And of course, Music Row, the beating heart of the recording industry.
And by choosing to sit at a coffee shop in Germantown rather than, say, a sports bar in Midtown, you are instantly communicating a wealth of data about your preferences. You are filtering for people who value walkability, historic architecture, and perhaps a slightly more deliberate pace than the urban center of the Gulch.
So the neighborhood is the filter. But here is the logistical problem. You can move to Germantown, you can drive to Brentwood, but you cannot just stand on a sidewalk and hope a highly compatible partner bumps into you like a scene from a 90s romantic comedy.
Sadly, no. The meet cute is rare.
You have to actually go inside a building. And this brings us to a massive evolutionary leap in how these spaces are being designed. We are witnessing a renaissance of the third place.
Yes, the third place. That's the sociological concept developed by Ray Oldenburg.
Right. Break that down for us.
So if your home is the first place and your workplace is the second place, the third place is the communal, neutral ground where society actually happens. The coffee shops, the barber shops, the public squares.
But the third place has historically been dominated by consumption-based socializing.
Yeah, mainly drinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the last several decades, adult socializing has basically meant going to a bar and consuming alcohol.
Yeah.
You sit on a stool, you stare at the person next to you, and the shared activity is just drinking.
Which isn't much of an activity.
It's not. And what we are seeing now in the 615 is this massive, deliberate shift toward action-based socializing. The environment provides an activity that absorbs the awkwardness of the interaction.
And the venues driving this shift are brilliant case studies in environmental psychology. They are actively lowering the barrier to entry for human connection by providing a shared external focus.
Look at Killjoy in Nashville. Have you seen this place?
The booze-free shop.
Yes. It's the city's first booze-free beverage shop, and they host sober and social patio happy hours at the loading dock. Think about the mechanics of that. A happy hour, but with zero-proof craft mocktails.
That's a huge shift in the culture.
Huge. Or take the Raven Book Lounge in Brentwood. It is explicitly designed as a sanctuary. You go there to sip a mocktail or a glass of wine while reading among bookshelves. You are not shouting over DJ.
Right. You're sitting in a comfortable lounge, engaging in parallel play.
Parallel play, yes. Like toddlers, but for adults. You read your book, they read their book, and occasionally you chat.
And for those seeking a higher energy environment, there is Crush Yard Nashville, also down in Brentwood.
The pickleball players.
Yeah, it's a massive indoor pickleball facility that has seamlessly integrated golf simulators and a self-serve tap wall.
Which is brilliant.
It is. You also have the Brentwood Country Club, acting as an affluent social hub with its patio room and aquatic center.
Pickleball is everywhere right now, but it makes so much sense in this context. It's accessible, it's active, it's slightly goofy, which breaks the ice immediately.
You can't take yourself too seriously playing pickleball.
No, you really can't. But why is this so much more effective than just meeting someone at a regular bar? What is happening on a psychological level when you replace a consumption-based environment with an action-based one like Crush Yard or the Raven Book Lounge.
Well, what these action-based environments generate is something I call clean data.
Clean data. Okay, contrast that with dirty data.
Right, so this is the core advantage over digital dating. Online dating profiles are notoriously full of dirty data. A profile is a highly curated, often manipulated, and sometimes entirely fabricated projection of how someone wants to be seen rather than who they actually are.
True.
And even in a traditional bar setting, the data is dirty because alcohol alters the neurochemistry of the interaction.
Oh, absolutely.
Inhibitions are artificially lowered, social anxiety is temporarily masked, and behavior is fundamentally altered.
You aren't meeting them, you're meeting their alcohol-lubricated representative.
Precisely. But when you engage in action-based socializing, the data is remarkably clean.
Because they're just being themselves.
Yes. When you watch someone play a game of pickleball, you are receiving an immense stream of unvarnished behavioral data. How do they handle losing a point? Do they encourage their partner, or do they get overly competitive and sulk?
Do they yell at the ref?
Exactly. How do they treat the staff at the self-serve tap wall? When you are at the Raven Book Lounge, how do they carry themselves in a quiet room? Do they respect the space, or are they loud and disruptive? You are observing their baseline operating system in real time.
I love that. Let me try an analogy here. An online dating profile is essentially a highly edited movie trailer.
Oh, I like this.
It shows you the best explosions, the funniest jokes, the most flattering lighting, and it almost always misrepresents the actual plot of the movie.
Always.
But doing an activity together, like attending the First Bank First Saturday Art Crawl downtown, is like sitting down and watching the actual movie unfold.
Yeah, you see the whole picture.
You experience the pacing, the slow parts, the real dialogue. You see how the narrative actually holds together without the rapid-fire editing.
That is exactly the distinction. Furthermore, action-based environments inherently lower what psychologists refer to as the social firewall.
The social firewall.
Yeah, when two people are sitting face-to-face across a table at a coffee shop, the expectation of continuous, engaging eye contact and sparkling conversation creates immense pressure.
It's terrifying.
But when you are both focused on a shared external task, whether it's analyzing a painting at an art crawl or returning a serve in pickleball, the task absorbs the pressure. The silences are no longer awkward. They are just part of the activity.
That makes total sense. The pressure is directed at the object, not the person. But here's the logistical trap that I think a lot of people fall into.
What's that?
We talk about these great venues, but what if you don't naturally bump into someone? What if you are inherently shy or introverted? You can't just wander around a bookstore or a pickleball court waiting for someone to drop their paddle so you can swoop in.
Right, that feels predatory.
It really does. How do people actually initiate contact in these spaces without feeling like a creep walking up to a stranger?
This is exactly why the physical infrastructure, the venue, is only half the equation. The other half is the social infrastructure.
The organizers.
Yes. We are seeing a massive rise in highly structured, intention-driven social groups that utilize these venues but act as the central organizing force.
Organizers who are actively engineering the environment so you don't have to guess if someone wants to be approached.
Exactly.
The data we pulled on local meetups provides an incredible window into this. Look at a group called the 40-Plus Christian Singles Society, run by Therese Baker Bell. Her manifesto for the group is incredibly revealing.
What does she say?
She writes that she's a divorced mom, her kids are off to college, and she wants to explore Nashville. But she explicitly puts in bold letters. This is not a dating site.
Bold letters.
Bold letters. She explicitly states she wants a safe environment without the pressure of clubs. So she organizes bowling nights at Pinewood Social or group hikes at Radnor Lake.
By explicitly stating this is not a dating site, Therese is masterfully dismantling what we call the evaluative threat.
The evaluative threat. Okay, walk us through the mechanics of that. Why is that threat so paralyzing?
When an environment is labeled solely as a dating event, the psychological stakes for every participant become astronomically high. Every single interaction is loaded with evaluative threat.
Like an audition.
Exactly. When you speak to someone, your internal monologue is racing. You're thinking, are they judging me? Am I failing this audition? Am I attractive enough? Could this be my future spouse?
That is so much pressure for a Tuesday night.
It is. When the only acceptable outcome of the evening is finding a romantic partner, human defensive shields immediately deploy. People act unnaturally. They become stiff, they overcompensate, they agree to things they don't actually like just to seem more agreeable.
It triggers a mild fight-or-flight response,
Exactly.
which is exactly why traditional dates feel so exhausting.
Yeah.
You are essentially doing PR for yourself for 2 hours stay.
Yes, personal PR.
But by framing the group as a society for friendship and hiking, she removes that entire layer of stress. The evaluative threat drops to zero.
The stated goal is simply to hike Radnor Lake and enjoy the outdoors. If you accomplish that, the day is a success. If two people happen to connect and fall in love, it is a byproduct of the environment, not the mandated goal.
Right.
They were allowed to just be normal humans first, providing that clean data we discussed earlier, before ever having to decide on romantic compatibility.
You see the exact same principle in Sachin Joshi's group, Active Singles Nashville. The activities they choose are brilliant for outward focus.
What kind of stuff do they do?
They organize St. Jude charity walks. They play ballad bingo at Game Terminal. They host board game afternoons at the Green Hills Library.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. If you were doing a charity walk, the entire focus of the group is outward, on the cause. It builds communal solidarity first and romance second. You are side by side, not face to face.
And for those who perhaps don't want to join a recurring meetup group, local event organizers are getting incredibly creative with one-off events designed to bypass the fear of approach.
Yes. Because the friction of the initial approach is the hardest part. How do you cross a room and say hello to a stranger?
It's daunting.
We looked at the Amsterdamian, which hosts an LGBTQ+ singles mixer. They utilize a system of optional conversation wristbands.
Like traffic lights?
Sort of. Different colors signal exactly what kind of interaction you are open to, or what you are looking for. It completely removes the guesswork. You don't have to wonder if someone is open to being approached. They are literally wearing a green light.
That is so efficient.
And then you have the resurgence of lock and key events, which I find endlessly fascinating.
Oh, the ultimate gamification of social introduction.
Yes. You walk into the venue, and the organizers hand all the women padlocks, and they hand all the men keys, or however they choose to structure the distribution.
Okay.
Your only objective for the entire evening is to walk up to as many strangers as possible and see if your key opens their lock. If it does, you go to a desk and win a raffle prize.
It sounds so silly on paper.
It does. But it is genius. It forces you to initiate contact with 50 different people without ever having to think of a clever pickup line. The game is the pickup line.
What the game provides is social permission.
Social permission, I like that.
The fear of rejection is bypassed because you aren't approaching them to ask them out. You are approaching them to complete the mechanism of the game. It's a socially sanctioned intrusion.
Right.
Once the lock is tested, you have already broken the physical barrier, you have shared a brief moment of anticipation, and transitioning into a natural conversation is infinitely easier.
And there are groups tailoring these experiences to every comfort level. If you want something highly intimate, there is Folks Table. They organize one-night-only dinner parties with complete strangers at different spots across Nashville. You break bread with people you've never met.
That takes some courage, but it sounds amazing.
Or look at Matchmaking Nashville. They run events with names like Mix, Mingle, and Maybes, and Flirt and Flow. But my absolute favorite detail from their events is a mechanic they use called the wingman pitch.
Oh, this is fascinating.
At a certain point in the night, you can get on a microphone for exactly 1 minute and pitch your single friend to the entire room.
It is an incredibly effective tactic because it utilizes the psychological principle of social proof.
Right, because no one wants to brag about themselves.
Exactly. In human behavioral ecology, reputation is currency. When a trusted friend gets on a microphone and speaks highly of someone's character, their loyalty, or their humor, it carries exponentially more weight than that person boasting about themselves.
Self-promotion triggers skepticism.
While third-party endorsement triggers curiosity. Plus, it injects a massive amount of levity and communal support into the room.
It turns dating into a team sport instead of a solitary slog. So, we have hiking clubs lowering the evaluative threat, we have dinner parties creating intimacy, and we have lock and key games breaking the ice.
A lot of options.
But we need to address the elephant in the room.
The big one?
What if you don't want to hike? What if you don't want to play a board game at a library?
What if you just want to get to the point?
Exactly. What if you were a busy 36-year-old professional? You know exactly what you were looking for, and you want a highly efficient, direct way to evaluate romantic partners without the ambiguity of a friendship-first bowling night. You just want to cut to the chase.
Right.
This brings us to the evolution of the most notorious dating format in modern history, we have to talk about speed dating.
It is arguably the most significant paradigm shift we are observing. Because you are correct, traditional speed dating carries a stigma that can only be described as radioactive.
Radioactive is the perfect word. If you say the phrase speed dating to almost anyone, they immediately picture the ultimate early 2000s cinematic trope. You know exactly what I mean.
Well, I'm picturing it now.
It is always held in a depressing, windowless hotel conference room.
Always.
The lighting is that terrible, buzzing, fluorescent overhead light that makes everyone look slightly ill. It smells like stale coffee and nervous sweat. You're sitting in a hard chair across from a stranger at a wobbly folding table.
And then the whistle.
And then tweet. A piercing sports whistle blows every 3 minutes. It feels exactly like a mid-level accounting job interview.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
What are your weaknesses? Tweet. Move to the next table. It is human connection, distilled into its most mechanical, anxiety-inducing, cringe-worthy form.
That Y2K paradigm of speed dating was built purely on logistical efficiency.
Just churning through bodies.
Exactly. The goal was simply to cycle as many bodies past each other as mathematically possible within a 2-hour window. It completely ignored human psychology, nervous system regulation, and environmental aesthetics.
Totally ignored them.
Which is precisely why the renaissance happening at premium venues in the 615 is so noteworthy. They have deconstructed the format and rebuilt it from the ground up. The pinnacle of this evolution is an event called Pop Fizz and Speed Mingle.
Yes, hosted at the historic Maryland Manor, known locally as Mere Bulls in Brentwood. Just changing the venue is a massive psychological shift.
It changes everything.
Mere Bulls is this gorgeous historic mansion setting. It has character, it has warmth, it has architectural pedigree. You aren't in a Holiday Inn conference room. You are in an estate.
The psychology of space cannot be overstated here. In environmental psychology, there is a concept that architecture dictates behavior.
The hardware dictates the software.
Exactly. The physical venue is just as important as the mechanics of the event. When you remove participants from a fluorescent-lit, sterile room and place them in a sophisticated, dimly lit cocktail hour at a historic estate, you instantly elevate their internal narrative.
You feel fancy.
You do. You shift their mindset from feeling like they're participating in a desperate fire drill to feeling like they're attending a sophisticated networking gala. Their posture changes, their vocal tone lowers, and their confidence increases.
The ambiance creates the reality. And the organizers are hyper-aware of the language they use, too. They explicitly instruct attendees and staff not to use the word date.
Oh, that's smart. What do they use?
They insist on calling it a connection.
Because, as we discussed with the meetup groups, the word date immediately triggers that evaluative threat.
Right.
By framing the evening around finding a connection, the organizers imply open-ended possibility. A connection could be a new friend, a business contact, a tennis partner, or a romantic interest. The pressure to evaluate someone solely on their potential as a spouse is completely diffused.
Okay, so the venue is beautiful, the language is softer, and everyone has a glass of champagne. That is a vast improvement.
Huge improvement.
But fundamentally, at the end of the day, you are still taking nervous strangers and placing them at a table together.
True.
How do they prevent the conversation from immediately flatlining? Because even at a historic mansion, small talk can be brutal and exhausting.
Yeah.
How has Speed Mingle actually hacked the interaction to guarantee that people don't just stare at their shoes?
Well, they have completely re-engineered the mechanics of the interaction to bypass our worst conversational instincts. The first major intervention was addressing the time constraint.
All right, they got rid of the 3-minute whistle.
Thank goodness.
They expanded the rounds to last anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And even more importantly, they abandoned the one-on-one format. They used tables of 4 to 6 people.
Which is a game changer.
It completely eliminates that agonizing claustrophobic feeling of sitting across from one person, realizing in the first 30 seconds that you have absolutely nothing in common, and knowing you still have 2.5 minutes of forced eye contact left.
It's like watching paint peel off a wall.
Yes. But if there are 4 or 5 people at the table, the burden of carrying the conversation is distributed. If you and the guy next to you don't click, someone across the table can chime in. The conversation can flow organically, like a dinner party.
Expanding the time frame and the group size is crucial. I mean, a 3-minute interaction only allows time for the exchange of basic demographic data.
Name, rank, and serial number.
Exactly. What is your name? What do you do for work? Where do you live? It is an interrogation. A 15-minute interaction, particularly within a group dynamic, allows for actual narrative storytelling. You can tell a funny anecdote, you can react to someone else's story, you can demonstrate your sense of humor. But, as you rightly point out, even with 15 minutes and a group of people, nervous humans will almost always default to what we call the conversational death spiral.
Oh, the death spiral is so real. What do you do for work? I'm in software sales. Oh, cool. How about this crazy weather we're having? Yeah, it really rained a lot yesterday.
It's brutal.
If you have to repeat that exact sequence 15 times in one night, you are going to want to jump out a window. It drains the life force right out of you.
To combat this, the organizers introduce a brilliant structural disruptor. They utilize a tool called the 52+2 card game.
This is such a simple but elegant motion. They place these beautifully designed prompt cards right in the center of the tables. It serves as an external conversational scaffolding.
It gives everyone permission.
Yes, permission to completely bypass the mind-numbing small talk. You just pull a card, read the prompt, and suddenly you are thrust into a dialogue that could be hilarious, deeply meaningful, or incredibly thought-provoking. You aren't forcing the conversation. The card is facilitating it.
It bypasses the social risk of asking a deep question. If you meet a stranger and immediately ask them, "What is the most significant risk you've ever taken?" you seem intense and boundaryless.
Very intense.
But if the card asks the question, the card is taking the social risk. You are just participating in the game. It jumpstarts intimacy and allows people to showcase their values and worldview almost immediately.
And it keeps the energy high.
But the most impressive logistical innovation is how they handle the conclusion of the event. They use a system called dual opt-in and SmartSync.
This is where the process integrates modern technology to solve the oldest problem in dating.
The fear of rejection.
Exactly. Historically, the end of a speed date is the worst part. The bell rings, and you have to decide, in real time, face-to-face, if you're going to ask for their phone number.
It is terrifying.
It requires immense vulnerability.
Yeah.
But at Speed Mingle, absolutely zero demographics, last names, or cell phone numbers are shared at the table.
None of it. Instead, attendees utilize a mobile smart card app. Throughout the night, they secretly log their interest in the people they meet on their phones, entirely under the radar.
Yes, you just tap your phone under the table, or you do it while you are up grabbing another drink. And the genius part is the time horizon.
The 72 hours.
Yes. You aren't forced to make a split-second decision before the next rotation. You have a full 72 hours post-event to decide on a match via their encrypted SmartSync portal. 72 hours.
Which is a huge relief.
You can go home, get a full night's sleep, sober up, and really process the evening. You can ask yourself, did I actually like that person's energy, or was it just the champagne and the nice lighting talking?
This system is the pinnacle of what behavioral economists call low-stakes optionality. The psychological relief provided by this mechanism is immense. You never have to reject someone to their face.
That's the best part.
And crucially, you never have to endure the humiliation of asking for a number and being turned down in public. The system only connects you if both parties opt in independently over those 72 hours. It puts control entirely in the hands of the attendee, ensuring physical, emotional, and digital safety.
It surgically removes all the cringe and anxiety of traditional dating.
Yeah.
You are combining the undeniable biological efficiency of face-to-face chemistry because, let's be honest, within 5 minutes, if you are attracted to someone's physical presence,
You definitely do.
with the safety, boundaries, and asynchronous processing power of modern tech. And the absolute best part, the system lets you categorize your opt-in.
Oh, right. The different levels.
Yeah, you can choose to connect for romance, for friendship, or purely for professional networking. If you meet a woman and there is zero romantic spark, but she works in commercial real estate and you are looking for office space, you just click professional connection.
That's so efficient.
If she agrees, you get her LinkedIn instead of her personal number. It's a frictionless networking engine.
It entirely redefines the purpose of the gathering. It ceases to be a meat market and becomes a sophisticated community building engine. You are expanding your entire social and professional portfolio in a highly efficient, dignified manner, surrounded by people who have also self-selected to be intentional about their connections.
So what does this all mean when we zoom out? We've traced this incredible migration. We started with the frustration of the dial-up digital dating world.
App fatigue.
We watched that frustration push people out of the chaotic, volume-based bars of downtown Nashville. We followed them as they settled into the highly intentional, shared lifestyle matrix of Brentwood and Germantown.
Right.
We saw them embrace action-based socializing at Killjoy and Crush Yard to generate clean data. We saw organizers dismantle the evaluative threat with hiking clubs and lock and key games. And finally, we saw the total reinvention of speed dating into high-end, low-stakes networking at Mere Bowls.
It's a complete overhaul.
When you weave all these threads together, what we are really talking about is an entire geographic region engaging in mass physical therapy for our interpersonal skills.
That is a profoundly accurate way to frame it. The last 2 years, characterized by a global pandemic and the subsequent dominance of remote work and screen-based living, caused our collective social muscles to atrophy severely.
We forgot how to act.
We quite literally forgot the mechanics of how to talk to strangers. We lost our tolerance for the mild friction of in-person serendipity.
We really did. And these curated events, the book lounges, the meetups, the speed mingles, they act as the gym where we go to rehabilitate those social muscles.
Doing the reps.
By practicing the art of conversation in these heavily structured, safe environments, where the evaluative threat is artificially lowered and the optionality is high, you are rebuilding your conversational stamina. You are doing the reps.
You are intentionally reacclimating your central nervous system to the presence of new people in a space where the consequences of a mildly awkward interaction are essentially zero.
And this is the most critical takeaway for you listening to this deep dive right now. Let's say you decide to put your phone down. You buy a ticket to a Speed Mingle event, or you show up to a reading night at the Raven Book Lounge. You put yourself out there.
Step 1.
And let's say you don't meet your soulmate that night. You don't even meet a new best friend. It was not a waste of time. Because by simply showing up and engaging, you are building quiet confidence. You are practicing the terrifying art of being perceived by others.
And that matters.
It matters so much. And because you did the reps in that safe environment, maybe next Tuesday you'll have the internal bandwidth and the confidence to strike up a natural, charming conversation with a complete stranger in the produce aisle.
Or at a coffee shop in Germantown.
Exactly. You aren't just looking for a date. You are upgrading your own internal social bandwidth so that when serendipity does happen, you're actually capable of engaging with it.
You know, if we extrapolate this trend and look toward the future, it raises an incredibly important and perhaps slightly unsettling sociological question.
Oh, lay it on me.
If society as a whole continues its current trajectory of heavily outsourcing its romantic and social curation to artificial intelligence, predictive algorithms, and screen-based filters,
Right.
what happens to our inherent biological instinct for detecting human chemistry? Like any biological function, if we do not exercise that muscle, does it eventually disappear?
Oh, wow.
Will future generations view the concept of in-person serendipity, the simple, chaotic act of just meeting a stranger in the wild and feeling an inexplicable spark, not as a normal, everyday part of the human experience, but as a premium luxury experience?
Luxury good.
Yeah, a curated, ticketed event that only a privileged few can afford the time, the resources, and the social bandwidth to participate in.
Wow. In-person serendipity as a luxury good. That is a heavy, slightly dystopian thought to chew on.
It is.
But it makes these real-world connection events in places like Brentwood seem not just fun or a good way to spend a Friday night, but culturally vital. These organizers are essentially fighting to keep the baseline human element alive.
They are preserving the habitat for genuine connection.
They really are. So we have to ditch the dial-up mentality. We have to get out of the diagnostic, muddy waters of the apps and get back into the real physical world, even if it is a little messy at first. Get out there, put the phone in your pocket, and use that upgraded social bandwidth.
Thank you for listening
and watching on the new Speed Mingle TV network.